brands are now changing their focus from simply holding on to customers through the recession and looking at ways in which they can grow their share of key segments and key customer groups as recovery gets underway. And for many, a key part of that is down to loyalty. In other words, what can they do to increase their share of purse or share of wallet with their existing customers as their spending power improves against an improving economic background. Retailing in Ireland has been through what we call the Amazon moment. It's had to rethink what it does faced with a huge competitor like Amazon and other online competitors who are offering something totally different to the consumer. And what we see happening now in retail is that retailers are trying to respond to that price pressure by improving the experience, improving the benefits to customers who come through the doors or go to their websites and offer them an omni-channel experience that is better than the Amazon or other competing offers out there. Probably the biggest change we've seen in the mindset of marketers in recent years has been the awareness that loyalty cannot be taken for granted. When you see the collapse in trust in so many institutions and businesses, etc., that has happened in Ireland and elsewhere, loyalty and trust and retaining that goodwill from your customers has become the #1 brand and marketing priority for a lot of the companies that we work with. And they now know that they have to respond to that challenge of a collapse of trust by earning and keeping the loyalty of the customers that they have. And our effort is really to try and give them the tools and the insights that will help them hold on to those customers as things pick up and as competition intensifies. When we set out to do this research, what we set out to do was to provide marketers with the economic rationale for loyalty. A lot of us know intuitively loyalty is important, and we know it's so important to be able to reward customers and keep customers. But what we did in building the Loyalty Performance Index was actually try and give an economic rationale for marketers to go to their CFOs or their colleagues and say, we need to invest in loyalty because here's the kind of return you can get. And our index provides that guidance for them. One of the most important findings from this study is that it actually shows you what the benefit is of getting your customers to participate in a loyalty scheme, literally in terms of spend and in terms of that kind of top line contribution of loyalty. So for example, we've seen that for some retailers, loyalty means that their customers who are in the loyalty scheme will spend 40, 50, even 80% more than the customers who are not in the loyalty scheme. So we're actually giving them that kind of tangible baseline measure that they can again use to justify investment in loyalty. I think one of the big insights for me coming through the research was that it's not just about getting people to join the loyalty scheme or to earn points, important as that is. The big finding that we've seen so far is that the more your customers burn their loyalty points, in other words, really participate and reap the benefits of loyalty, actually the more loyal they become and the more willing they are to continue participating in the scheme. It might seem obvious, but in fact, what we have found is that there's a direct economic contribution from an increase in the incidence of burning points and an increase in the average value spend and increase in loyalty. Loyalty programs are here to stay for as long as loyalty matters for marketers. And the fact is that in an increasingly competitive environment, it's never been more important to hold on to your customers, to increase your share of purse or wallet, and to get them to become your advocates, and get them to become the people who go out and win you business through word of mouth and so on. And all of those things are correlated with loyalty and driven by loyalty. And the reward for the marketer of increased loyalty is that they are more successful, just as the reward for the customer of increased loyalty is the emotional and financial benefits that they gain.
Well, we've seen a phenomenal change in the loyalty landscape over the last number of years. Historically, loyalty programs were really predominantly for groceries. The likes of Superquinn, who started the first loyalty program in Ireland. What we've seen over the last number of years is an increase of loyalty programs and across many different industries. So it could be hospitality or department stores. We're seeing more and more loyalty programs coming into the market for the very specific reason of brands trying to retain their existing customers and to really build relationships with them and generate that loyalty. This is the first independent loyalty performance index that Ireland has ever seen. Historically, brands did their research independently, tested how their loyalty program was performing against potentially international standards. Whereas what we've actually created with Amarach Research and Chilli Pepper Marketing is this first independent loyalty performance index, which gives brands the opportunity to benchmark their loyalty program against not only the retail sector as a whole, but their own category. So we've looked at beauty retail, we've looked at fuel retail, supermarket retail and department store retail. So it really is going to be an invaluable report for brands that have invested in their loyalty programs. In Ireland, retail were the first adopters of loyalty programs, so what better place to start than actually to focus on the retail landscape. We could have gone into the hospitality sector, we could have looked at any of the myriad of different industries that are adopting loyalty programs, but as a starting point we felt that it was most imperative to actually look at the retail brands because they actually have the longest history in loyalty. So as a benchmark, as a starting point, retail was where we wanted to focus. Well, this was fascinating for us because we would have had the idea in our minds that loyalty programs that had longevity behind them, so those programs that had been around for a number of years, would have actually been the winners in the loyalty survey. But using the parameters that we have done in this report meant that from a grocery point of view, Tesco came out as the #1 winner of their loyalty program. And from that point of view, it was really about their customers saying that they engage in the program, they redeem their rewards, they read the communication, etc. So as far as grocery goes, Tesco came out on top. In the fuel industry, Topaz Play or Park came out as #1 as the loyalty winner. We were quite surprised actually because historically we would have seen longevity as being one of the key criteria for a program gaining huge traction with their loyalty program over the first couple of years. Theirs came out very strong in both penetration and participation, so their customers are engaging in their program and actually redeeming their rewards. In the beauty industry, we looked at a number of different brands, and from a beauty point of view, Boots came out as #1. It's interesting because in research groups that we do with other brands, predominantly females always put Boots as their #1. So this is just an opportunity for the brand to actually stand up and say that they are the retail winner when it comes to beauty as a loyalty program. In the fashion and department store, we looked at a number of different programs, and Brown Thomas came out as #1. Really interesting. They've invested a lot of money in reinvigorating their loyalty program, giving their members more opportunity to redeem their rewards, giving them access to exclusive sales and events, and that really shone through in the report. Well, there are 5 parameters that we looked at within the Loyalty Performance Index. The first one was registration. So really what we find with a lot of loyalty programs is that they have loads of cards out in the market, but a smaller percentage of them are actually registered. So what we urge clients to do is really go after those customers and make sure that they register their details and get all of that information on side from the customer's point of view. The second one that we look at is engagement. And that is really how often a customer engages with your loyalty program. So what we try and do is test how many times that customer pulls out that card and swipes it in the store. The third metric that we look at is penetration. And what we mean by this is how many of the transactions that a retail store is tracking are actually loyalty transactions. So that number is really important for brands to actually track. The higher the number of loyalty transactions they get, the more information they can glean from their customer base, and the more that they can actually tailor the communication and get that customer to actually frequent more and spend that little bit more money. The fourth metric is what we believe is the golden nugget or the key to loyalty program success, and that is participation. You could have the most fantastic loyalty program in the world with loads of your customers swiping their cards, but actually none of them taking up your offers or none of them taking up the rewards that you have. And when a customer actually gets that reward, so if it was in the likes of a beauty retailer, when they're able to walk around with that free fragrance at the end of the year and say, this is thanks to my loyalty card, that is what we call a moment of truth. So what we try and do is get as many brands as possible to really add value to their customers by giving them relevant rewards that they can take, and that is where we see loyalty really shift in the different direction. The last metric that we look at is return on investment. Loyalty and retention is one of the marketing mix that actually can be accurately measured. And so what we try and do is work with brands to increase that level of return on investment. So the more loyal customers are, the more they return, and ultimately the more they spend with you. So it's about trying to measure that return on investment. So those are the 5 points that brands can look at to increase their LPI. Amarach Research and Chilli Pepper are looking for brands to set up meetings with us who either have an existing loyalty program and are looking to refresh it, are looking for some pointers as to how they can get their customers more engaged, or if a brand is considering implementing a loyalty program, those are the types of conversations we would like to have. So any brand who's interested in retention or loyalty can give either Amarach or ourselves a call, and we'd be happy to come in and share the full report with you.